we have Wyoming Valley, and I've seen this same design called Memory in other places, so it may be called Memory, the memory block. Here is, and it finishes at 12 inches. Here is the diagram of the patches, and here are your alternatives for piecing half square triangles and flying geese. When I set up these patterns, I want to be able to, if someone only has a rotary cutter and a ruler and a mat, that they can cut these pieces out. So you'll see on this side, this is printed directly from AccuQuilt version 8 that I have, and I design all these, or I put all these into that software. And this tells you how to cut. So if I zoom in, this is how you read it. So this is the A patch, and it's 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And you see that's a square, and you need to make 4 of these with that fabric, which in this case is the background fabric. So it's the square here and in the background fabric. So here's the square A, and here is the background fabric, and you need 4 patches. And also on here, I've added the AccuQuilt dies you can use to cut this shape. Move on to shape B. You'll see you cut for this shape B, which is here. It's everywhere. It's all the half square triangles. It's in the center, it's in the flying geese, and it's in the outside. Here you will need a 2 7/8 inch by 2 7/8 inch square. And this line means you cut that square once on the diagonal, and that gives you 2 pieces. And this here tells you for the white or the background fabric, you need 12 patches. So you will need to cut 6 of these squares, cut them in half, and you have your 12 patches for this color. And the same thing here, you'll need 8 patches. So you'll need to cut 4 of these squares and cut them in half to get your 8 patches. Then you have your 16 patches of your light fabric and your 8 patches of your dark fabric. Next one down here is number C, or letter C, and that's here. And looks like it's just in the flying geese. You will cut a 5 1/4 inch square, and these tell you to cut it in half diagonally twice, and you get 4 pieces. And over here you'll see in the background fabric you need 4 patches. So you'll cut one of these out of the background, cut it diagonally twice, and you'll have your 4 patches. And the same thing with this medium fabric. Then finally down here, patch D is in the center, and you'll cut 1 patch, and it's 3 3/8 inch square. These instructions here will tell you how to cut it if you have just a rotary cutter, and if there's an AccuQuilt die that I can find, they'll be listed here. And then as an alternative, if you like to make your half square triangles 8 at a time, 4 at a time, 2 at a time, I'll put a little reminder here that you can do that. And then also the flying geese. So there are half square triangles and flying geese in this block. And here are the pieces I've cut out for this. I've used the AccuQuilt, but if you were cutting by hand with just your rotary cutter and a ruler, this is what you would have. And here is A, all the blocks for A, and you need 4 patches of the square. All the blocks for B, there are 4 different ones, so they're 1, 2, 3, 4. All those are half square triangles, the same shape. And down here you have quarter square triangles, which are patch C, and then patch D is down here, which is the square on point. Now let's lay out the block and we'll see what it looks like before it's sewn together. Here are the pieces all laid out on the Prop-It block, so I can just take it to my sewing machine. Now there are many ways you can tackle this to put it together. You can start in the center and go out. You can start with all the half square triangles. You can start with all the flying geese, however you want to do it, whatever works for you. At the bottom of the instructions, I put some steps you could take to piece it. Here I've got the half square triangles done first, then the center square on square, and then the flying geese. And then you put it all together. Now I'll put it all together and we'll see what it looks like.